Hello friends, I've been playing a different MMO lately and I thought I would tell you guys about it. Plus, this gives me the opportunity to actually use my newish video editing software, Sony Movie Studio Platinum, which I got for dirt cheap on the summer Steam sale. The MMO is, of course, Guild Wars 2. Guild Wars 2 is a relatively recent MMO, having only just celebrated its 3rd anniversary. Guild Wars 2 was what is known as a buy-to-play MMO, which means that once you bought the box copy, you could play the game as much as you want. No subscription fees, in other words. Now, I'll be referring to Guild Wars 2 as just simply Guild Wars from now on. While technically Guild Wars 1 should hold that name, the truth is I don't care. It's just going to be easier for me to say, and the truth is I think of the game as Guild Wars most of the time. So what is Guild Wars? It's a high movement MMO. You never have to stand still to cast one of your spells. You have a dodge ability that can be used to avoid all damage. The gameplay is similar to the gameplay that you find in recent Batman games. Think of WoW's Monk class and how different that played from other classes, and extend that difference much, much further, and you start to get a sense of how the game plays. It's a lot of fun. The interface is simplified as well. At most, you'll have 15 spells you can cast at one time. None of that WoW foolishness of having multiple butt bars crowded with oddball spells that you might cast once in a blue moon. In Guild Wars, the interface is consistent across all classes, which we'll see examples of that later in the video. Recently, ArenaNet, the makers of Guild Wars, have offered a free-to-play option, so it is possible to play this game without even buying the, virtual box copy. All you need to do is create an account, verify that account via SMS, that's discourage gold-selling bots, and download the client, and you're in. But while the free-to-play option is perfectly playable and you're able to participate in all the content the game offers, the truth is there are some restrictions that make purchasing the game attractive. That's the reason why I've been working on getting this video done as quickly as I could. Guild Wars is going to get an expansion on October 23rd, 2015 called Heart of Thorns. Anyone who buys the expansion gets the base game included, and the pre-order price is quite reasonable, $50. So that's the reason why I've been pushing this video out before I'm fully happy with it. Time is important. While I expect the expansion to remain $50 and possibly $60, some of the pre-order goodies will not be around post-launch, which would be a shame since some of them are quite helpful. But enough of that. Let's get into the game itself, starting with an overview of the various races. Humans. In some MMOs, the human race is always considered to be the dull choice, but that's not so true in Guild Wars. Humans have a unique story in this game, but, well, everybody does. Guild Wars has what's known as a personal storyline. Think of it as WoW scenarios, with your character as the central focus. These optional personal storyline quests pop up every few levels you gain, and it makes the leveling experience a bit unique. Humans were brought to the planet over 1,000 years ago by the gods. They formed 3 kingdoms, Kryta, Or, and Ascalon. Fortunately, as covered in Guild Wars 1, Ascalon was the home to the Charr. Now, the Charr are what you get if a WoW Tauren screwed a panther. Sentient cat people with horns and a real bad attitude. They waged war against the humans in Guild Wars 1, and they won their homeland back. Charrhome City is built on the ruins of what was once a great human city. On Guild Wars 1, there were only 2 races, human and Charr, and they were on opposing factions. In Guild Wars 2, there are no opposing factions, so the Charr are now in a tenacious alliance with humans, which is tough, because the Charr like war, and as a bit of something new, a little bit of war, with a side of war. The Norn are a giant race that came from the far north. They are essentially Vikings or Scandinavian people crossed with a large bit of German. Norn have lived much further north, but they were driven from their homelands to the south because of the attacks of one of the recently returned dragons, Jormung, and they like beer. Lots and lots of beer. The story behind the Asura is a bit vague. They supposedly lived deep underground for many centuries before being recently driven to the surface. They aren't mammals, as you can see with little dot, no boobs, and are supposedly a warm-blooded egg-laying race. They are engineers and scientists and frankly fill the role in Guild Wars that gnomes do in World of Warcraft. Finally, you have the Sylvari, who are plant people. I think unconfirmed fan lore has this race arising from humans who ventured into the hostile jungle, were lost and died and had their souls captured by the Gaia, Avatar, semi-sentient plant network, only to be reborn or budded out from another tree as the Sylvari. They are, as of right now, the principal lore race in this game. Most of what's happening is related to them in some way or fashion. They are a fun race to play. Now let's take a look at the various classes, starting with the Mesmer. But before we get into that, a brief overview of the cast bar and character builds. You have 5 spells that are your primary attack spells that are castable as keys number 1 through 5. They are based off what weapon you currently wield. A two-handed weapon will have all 5 spells on it, while a main hand offhand weapon combo will have 3 spells of the main hand and 2 spells of the offhand. 6 of the 8 classes in Guild Wars can also hot swap their weapons with an alternate one in combat. Now, each weapon type has a unique spell set on it. So a staff will have 5 spells on it that are unique from a scepter focus. What this means is that you can customize your playstyle however you choose. You can be all melee, you can be melee a portion of the fight and range the remainder of it, or you can be all ranged. It depends on what weapon set you choose. Now button 6 is your heal. You can pick which heal you want to use from a small pool of spells. 7 through 9 are utility spells, which you can pick from a larger pool of castables. 0 is your ultimate spell, which can by itself be picked from a small pool of spells. And most classes use buttons F1 up to F5 as class-specific spells. You can reset everything when you're out of combat. Now, it should be noted that most of this video was captured from combat with starter zone mobs. Guild Wars has an excellent level scaling system that allows you to go back and do previous content with your maxed out character without overpowering it. But the starter zone mobs are particularly stupid. Higher level stuff is much more challenging. The Mesmer is a class that creates clones of itself. It's kind of like WoW's Mage, mirror image, rebuilt and reconstructed from the ground up. Now, the clones themselves don't do very much damage, but each weapon has the capability of creating a phantasm whose attacks are based off of what weapon was used to summon them. Now, the Mesmer can do AoE, but it's really best as a single target class, and the clones and phantasms can be forcibly exploded at the beckoning of the Mesmer, which one should do when the target's about dead, because otherwise the clones will just disappear and dissolve away. They do not switch targets. The Warrior is your stock Fury Warrior. They have access to all melee weapons, I believe, but they are happiest when they are swinging the big weapon, running a lot, and making things go smash. One different ability from other MMO warrior types is that they have the ability to wield long-range weapons. Few of them. Now you flip-flop the number of ranged weapons they can wield and the melee weapons, and you end up with the next class, the Ranger. The Ranger can wield most ranged weapons and can use some melee types. You would hope that changing its name to Ranger would discourage the Huntard types, but to no avail. Guild Wars is a very friendly game. The community is the opposite of WoW trade chat toxicity, but Huntards will be Huntards. Remember the old hunter ability, Rain of Arrows? Well, Rangers have that spell, and the Huntards love to cast it near you while you're in the middle of a long crafting session. The sound of those arrows falling is just so annoying. But Rangers and Warriors are two of the classes I haven't played much at all, so take my criticism with a bag of salt. The Thief is another class I haven't played that much of. More than the Warrior or Ranger, but still not a lot of. Thieves are either stabby or ranged with pistols, and they themselves have a unique mechanic in Guild Wars. They have the equivalent of WoW Rogue's energy bar, and most of their spells don't have any cooldown, but they do burn energy. Now this gal is especially deadly since she has 2 crafted daggers. That makes this low-level content quite simple. I like this class a lot, and this tune, or possibly the Elementalist, would be my next one to level to max. Necromancers are mostly demonology warlocks, with a bit of unholy death knight about them. I didn't count on it, but this is my current main class to play. My build is focused on casting debuffs, which is a major part of Guild Wars, and going single target via transformation or using my ultimate ability. Now, I could go full pet with this class and show up to a fight with many summoned pets, almost like a Diablo 2 Necromancer. The class is fun, and for my purposes is well suited for world boss and champion farming. Sadly, Necromancers are strongly shunned when it comes to 5-man content. Nobody wants them. The Elementalist is one of the 2 classes in Guild Wars that can't swap its weapons in combat. It could do that at the launch of the game, but it was quickly determined that being able to swap weapons just made the class too damn powerful. This is the Mage of Guild Wars. Well, a mage who screwed a shaman. Unique to this class, you can choose in real time which set of spells, from a pool of 4, you want on your weapon set. You can go Fire, which is crit happy and mostly single target. You can go Air Lightning, which is more multi-target. You can go Earth, which is largely defensive, and you can go Water, which has 1 or 2 freezing spells, but is mostly healing spells. Now, all classes have the ability to retune their number 6 healing spell to heal others rather than themselves, but Elementalists are the only class with multiple spells that can heal others. Let's face it, Guardian is a paladin. That's what he is, pure and simple. Now, one thing to understand is that Guild Wars really doesn't have the strict tank DPS healing trifecta. The truth is, there aren't any tanks in this game. I don't care what armor you're wearing, if you stand in front of the boss too long, you're going to get punched and you're going to die. That said, the Guardian can be tweaked to be kind of like a tank with a lot of armor and a lot of self-healing, and when it is, it can solo stuff that kills a lot of other classes. And finally, the engineers answered the question, what would you get if you took the WoW engineering crafting profession and made it into a class? This guy has the ability to plop down turrets, which will auto-target and kill most mobs. Don't like turrets? Well, you can throw down landmines, I believe, but turrets are where it's really at. This is one of the few classes that is all ranged, and all the weapons it has are ranged, and it can only hold 1 at a time. It's an interesting class, but feels very lazy in some ways. It's kind of odd having a class that can somewhat play itself. It's not bad though, you shouldn't let my prejudices get in the way of what you want to choose to play. There are a lot of things I haven't covered. Crafting is solid and is based around the discovery process that is similar to potion crafting in Skyrim. There is one auction house for all realms, and you can post items to the auction house in the field. You can deposit crafting materials and reagents to your bank in the field. You don't need a mailbox because you can send mail from anywhere. Instead of flight points and graveyards, you have waypoints, which are instant travel. All of your characters share one bank and one wallet, so no need to send items or gold to other characters. And guilds, oh good lord, guilds have lots of neat stuff. Special challenges in the world, like Naked Gnome Night, lots of stuff that are built in. The new expansion will now give guilds their own guild hall, their own home that they can customize at will, and many more things are in the game. The free-to-play restrictions are shown in the links in the info bar. Briefly, you can only create 2 characters. You can't exchange in-game gold for gems, which you can use to buy account level upgrades such as more character slots or expanding the size of your personal bank, and you can't access a guild bank. These are the biggies I see in the free-to-play restrictions. Others are inconveniences, but these are the biggies. Now, you can get to max level and play the game, enjoy it immensely, and play all the content with the free-to-play route. But I can tell you from experience that you'll probably want to buy the game at some point. That is, you want to buy the game if you like it, and this free-to-play option allows you to determine if you want to pay to play this game or not. Now, truth on the table time, this game's pretty good, but it's not WoW. It's got a lot of content, but it can't compete against all the stuff that's been added into the World of Warcraft over the last decade. Maybe the PvP is good enough to offset that, but I wouldn't know. As for the PvE stuff, you can hit this game really hardcore and burn yourself out on it in a few months or even a few weeks. But where this game is good is as an MMO, when you aren't playing WoW. Especially with the PvP, I've been told. Also, this game is very much a chunkified game. You can drop in, play 15 minutes, and drop out feeling satisfied you did something. As opposed to WoW and Warlords of Draenor, where you spend 15 minutes scratching your ass in your own goddamn garrison. It's a fun game. I really hope you guys will check it out. It's free to play after all.